Alright now, so this is Philobusker number 3, part E. This is, again, the solution-based situation that we're going to be dealing with here. So as a quick revision of what we've been talking about, Philobusker3E was just sort of thanking you for all of your support and your ideas and feedback on the filibuster. It was also to say each filibuster is numbered, and within the numbers several segments will be split up into A, B, C, etc. So please watch those in order because they help make things make sense. Now, Philobusker B was about money creation. That money is an agreed upon medium, whether that's salt, gold, playing cards, barter. That's where money started to come from. We started to exchange goods that started to use a side medium of exchange in lieu of those goods. Then we started to measure that out in particular standards in order to make it equal as much as possible between nations, between people. After we were talking about money creation, that ultimately the government creates the right for money to be created, and they can also ultimately give away that right, which is what they did. Along the way, we've lost the standard of money, which was gold and silver, as a form to say this is what money's worth. It's based on this gold figure. That's all been dropped in order for fiat currency, which is just fake money backed by nothing and just trusting the government or the banking to not create too much that would make our world inflationary, meaning that all prices are inflated for products beyond what they're actually worth. Now, the central problem that we spoke of, part of our global economic situation, and the history of our problem, was one, fractional reserve banking, which is fraud, where they only have to have a fraction of the money that they lend out on reserve. If they want to lend out $1 billion, they only need 100 million in their reserves. It's fraud, it's fake, it's destroyed our local and global economies. We're tied to a system of illegal activity that has been legitimized by bankers and their banking friends that got into government power. This global economy is totally based on the so-called leveraging of cash, money multiplying, and centralizing it all back towards themselves. Now they cause governments and countries, supposedly these austerity measures. We're going to privatize all your national treasures and resources. We're going to take away all your social programs and medical. And you're going to pay back all these debts to the bankers that they stacked in the first place. And the people are going to suffer. The people are going to pay for it through their taxes that are generally unconstitutional and illegal. And it's all going towards the creating of a G20, a global governance, and basically it's heading us towards serfdom again. Now, we started to speak in the last filibuster about solutions. Our Constitution declares the government is to issue the currency. No government would issue currency, money, and loans to itself at interest. That's insane. The people wouldn't do that to themselves. We have the right to issue it for our own programs, to pay off civil service, to pay off infrastructure building, to pay off everything that we need to in our country. We don't charge ourselves interest. That's crazy. Nor do we give that power away to the bankers so that they can charge us interest for their own benefit. That's ridiculous. It's fraudulent. It's got to come to an end. Government created money, constitutional currency as I like to call it, that is the answer out of this, not a global economic problem, but of Canada's financial problems as well. Take the money back. When you do that, you will not need to have an unconstitutional federal income tax, which only the provinces have the right to issue. Now, other forms of solutions that will help bring us into a brand new world. Again, if we're not going to have currency backed by gold or silver, but I think that's fair because he who owns the gold rules. Gold and silver are precious commodities. Whoever's got them makes everybody else servitude to them. So let's not worry about that. Let's get rid of fractional reserve banking, but have 100% reserves. You can only loan out what you got. That's not insane, is it? I got $10 in my pocket. I can only spend 10. I can't spend 100. That's just a basic reality. So 100% reserves in our banks. The next is do what Muhammad Yunus did with microcredit. He lent out $50 to 100 million women basically in Bangladesh and India, and they were able to create their own jobs. Microcredit. You give out little amounts of money, enough to create a sustainable lifestyle for somebody. They're more likely to pay it back as well, which was something like 98% of all money lent out by the Bank of the People. With Muhammad Yunus and microcredit is paid back. Microcredit is a great way to encourage small and medium businesses to get moving. Another reality that we've got is local currency. Salzburg Island has its own currency, the Monetary Foundation. We should look into the island of Guernsey in England as a model of how money can be spent. Local currency can be used to pay taxes, local taxes, to use for projects that are on the island, paid back to the island without interest. Local currency can be used for very powerful things. Same with local barter exchanges. Get away from the big economic fraud. Get away from the big banking economic system. It's based on interest. It's based on servitude. Local currencies, local barter exchanges are the way to basically get your community back too. You get to meet people, real people. You get to see where your money's spent. You get to exchange your goods, the fruits of your labor for their labor, for their fruits. That's how you build a society. You grow it together. You do not make sure that somebody takes over, controls the wealth, controls the land, controls you. You take it back. It's not just saying something that we need to do. This is part of our Constitution. It's part of our constitutional rights. It's part of our ability as a society to say the economy, money, greed, and all this talk about austerity and all this kind of republicanism, conservative type of thinking in terms of privatization, deregulating everything, let the free market rule. Well, it's ruled, it's destroying us all. If the Conservative government of Canada nowadays was to look at its own history, John A. Macdonald, they made sure that the country had control of its own currency and abided by the laws of the nation. They didn't rule by decree, they ruled by the law of the Constitution. Issue your own currency. Do it for the sake of the nation. Don't add on fake laws. Do everything for the betterment of your people and for the world. That's how we'll get to the right place in this world. Stop feeding the oligarchy. Stop living out their ideology. Let's take back everything based on the Constitution, based on our own conscience, and let's live the way we're supposed to live, as an interconnected people, helping each other, instead of being afraid and letting people rule us until that's it. We're all stuck in a servitude. That was Philobusker number 3 on the economic reality. And watch soon because I think the next one is on cosmology. So thank you, and we'll see you again.